Every performance review, every manager, every well-meaning mentor all said the same thing. Speak up more. But nobody told you how to do it without sounding and feeling completely fake. Here's why that advice never worked. If you work in tech and you're 5 or 10 years into your career and you're excellent at what you do, but still overlooked in the rooms that matter, this channel is for you. Here's the thing. Speak up more is an outcome, not a method. When you tell somebody to speak up more, you're not necessarily telling them how to do it. That's like saying, I'm going to teach you how to swim. And I'm going to do it by just throwing you into the water. What do you think is going to happen when somebody throws you into the water, but you don't know how to swim? I'll tell you, because it happened to me. I had 3 swimming instructors growing up. The first instructor that I ever remember in my life, my mother took me to the Rose Bowl Aquatic Center in Pasadena. And I remember when I got there, the lady guided me into the water. And for her first task at showing me how to swim, her first lesson, what she decided to do was this. She decided to take my head and just dunk it underwater. I was so scared and afraid for my life. I told myself I would never try to swim again. So that didn't work. The second swimming instructor, I was a part of a group lesson. And in this group, they had us all going through drills, and there was about 1 or 2 instructors watching a group of 20. I didn't know how to swim. And sure, they were teaching how to swim, but they weren't giving me one-on-one guidance to show me what I was doing wrong. So what I ended up doing was, while we were all practicing in the shallow end, swimming 5 yards out and 5 yards in, while everybody else seems like they're swimming, I'm walking underwater while waving my hands and arms above water as if I'm swimming, doing a swimming motion. And it was great. I thought I was swimming. You couldn't tell me I wasn't Finding Nemo out there. But what happened was this. Towards the last weeks of the session, the trainings got more intense, but we were still in the shallow end, so I was able to fake it until I made it. Until it was time to actually show it. And what happened was, the final day, the instructor said, hey, it's time to jump off the diving board in the deep end. When we got to the diving board in the deep end, I remember going up the tall ladders, and I was a small kid, so I was only maybe like, 3'5" I don't know. I was a small kid. Whatever is the national average for a 9-year-old, I was underneath that. So I remember this ladder was very tall. And when I got to the top of the ladder, I remember getting to the point where I had to jump off. And I remember looking at my mother and looking at everybody watching me. And I said, I know how to do this. I've trained for this. And when I jumped off that diving board and I hit that water, I sank like a stone. The next thing I remember is somebody pulling me up out that water. And I told myself after that second lesson, I would never learn how to swim again. I'm cool off the water. It wasn't until the third lesson that I finally got it right. Why is that? Well, the third lesson, it was different. I had an instructor who was, number one, patient. They were working with me one-on-one. And it also helped that the water was warm. It felt like room temperature. So that added to the comfort. But the diligence that she took to actually teach me how to swim on a one-on-one basis, show me the proper techniques, proper form, and built me up to a swimmer, made all the difference. So why does that matter? Well, when I did know how to swim, I was trying to swim how I saw other people swimming. I didn't see their feet underneath the water. I only saw their arms waving. And that's what I mimicked, and that's why it didn't work. When you try to communicate like someone else, the loudest person, the most charismatic person, or the person in the room that's the funniest, you are performing, and it's not going to work because you don't have the fundamentals. You don't know what's really happening behind the scenes that builds you up to actually communicate effectively. And here's how that affects your communication style. People can read you when you're inauthentic. And when you are performing and when you are acting, it's going to come off that way. It's not going to signal that this person knows what they're talking about or that this person is competent in any way, shape, or form. It's just going to signal that this person is trying to be like someone else and it's not working. Just like when I was trying to swim, but I couldn't because I was trying to look like others. And I was actually a detriment to myself, because when it was time to actually jump off that diving board, I sank to the bottom. When it's time for you to speak up in rooms without having this foundation, you sink as well. And sinking for you just looks like staying silent. And it's not something that's going to be obvious to them. It's something that they're just going to feel. And they're just going to know something is off when they're talking to you, because they're going to start feeling uncomfortable. And that's not the effect that you want to have when you speak. The effect that you want to have when you speak is others feel like conversationally everything is flowing naturally and they feel comfortable enough to continue talking to you and sharing ideas and sharing ways in which you can input and sharing ways in which your collaboration can grow with each other, and ultimately giving you the recognition that you deserve. This is why technically brilliant people get dismissed in the rooms that they should be leading. The alternative to that is communicating from your actual voice and from who you actually are. I have a framework called the RISEpoint Shift Framework, and it's built on the idea that your voice, the one that you need, is already inside of you. It's not absent. It's simply blocked. I remember I had a speech competition not too long ago that I had entered. And in that first round, I went into it confident because I knew exactly what I was going to say and how I was going to say it. And when I got there and performed, I lost. And when I lost, I had to do some reflecting. Why did this happen to me? I felt like the speech I gave was a polished, undeniable speech. But when I look back on it, I didn't embody what I was saying. I was just saying words I thought the audience wanted to hear. So after I lost, I came back the next year, and with more understanding of who I am and my voice, I was able to deliver a speech from who I actually was. And that actually caused me to move forward in the competition. And when I did that, I actually continued to improve upon my natural voice instead of performing somebody who I wasn't. So the reason why I won is not because I had better words. The reason why I won is because I finally embodied the words that I was saying. I actually understood what I was trying to convey and the ideas I wanted my audience to know. And a lot of you have to understand, you will start winning the moment you can effectively convey to your audience your ideas clearly from who you are, not who you think you're supposed to be. So the way the RISEpoint Shift Framework works is there are 3 phases: spot it, spark it, and show it. The spot it phase is where you see where you're holding back and you see where you have faults in the parts that you played in your life. The spark it phase is when you finally put into action and into work what you need to do to improve on your skill development of communication and presence to be able to show yourself in these rooms. And the third phase is the show it phase, where you take everything that you've done, everything that you've figured out about yourself, all the skill development, and you actually put that into place and start talking from a place of who you are with the expertise that you have and actually showing your value to the world. My next video goes deeper into this framework with a communication shift that actually gets you noticed. And if you're tired of advice that's telling you what to do instead of how to do it, I have a free training that gives you the actual method. Not a script, not a performance, a real shift in your own communication. Stay subscribed and the details will be coming soon. See you in the next video.